Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. May I introduce my name is Ferdinand Yulianda. I am a lecturer at the Department of Aquatic Resources Management, Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science, IPB University. My field is conservation and ecotourism management. Today, I would like to talk about the integrated conservation and sustainable fisheries. Hopefully, all of you can enjoy during half an hour that will be discussed anything of coastal and marine resources related with conservation and fisheries. Firstly, we talk about the conservation concept. What's the meaning of conservation? Conservation is the balance of natural resources. We have to keep natural resources is always available in the world. On the other hand, human need natural resources for their living needs. So the natural resources are treated by human in various ways. Human treatment exists in the nature of exploitation, such as utilization, destruction, and service. There are also those of a good treatment to natural resources, such as protection and rehabilitation. Okay. The question is how to apply of the conservation in natural resources management. Ordinary people know and understand that conservation is management that is only carried out within only a conservation area. It's not true. The conservation should be applied for the entire area, all the area, with a sustainable resources management approach. This approach is the conservation concept. The components that must be considered for the sustainable use of coastal and marine resources are first the resources themselves. After that is information about the resources, or we call it as a database system. We need management system. We need also regulation. One important thing is integrated system. We need integration between among activity, human activity, among aspect, several interests that work at coastal and marine area. Some activity from human will treat the environmental quality by pollution, waste, destruction, the system. So we have to make understanding among the sector interests in order to keep coastal and marine resources sustainability. The ultimate goal of management is economic income and community welfare. So if we look at this management cycle in this slide, natural resources are the main capital in management. Yeah. After that, followed by database system, management, regulation, integrated system. Yeah. In order to maintain the sustainability of economic, we must ensure sustainable resources. Resources sustainability can only be achieved with the conservation approach. The conservation should not be feared by the economic actors, due to the conservation has a good purpose for the management of natural resources. There are three objectives of conservation management, namely protection, preservation, and utilization. Protection as objective purpose to maintain the existing ecological process in nature in order to protect diversity of biota, the presence of endangered species or rare species, to protect against habitat destruction and degradation. The second purpose is preservation. It's meant to optimize the function and extent of the ecosystem, ensuring the existence of ecological system of all ecosystem runs well despite the dynamic of changes caused by nature and humans. And the third purpose is utilization. Ensuring sustainable use based on carrying capacity. Controlling utilization remains below the carrying capacity, so the utilization can be sustainable. The function of conservation management is to ensure the natural resources remain sustainable. Natural resources receive negative treatment on the red arrow line, namely, first is direct utilization, and the second is pollution and damage that can be indirect. These two factors cause natural resources to decline. Another variable that can cause a decrease or damage to natural resources is natural disaster. Although it is not caused by human, but humans can stimulate natural disaster. To avoid the decline and damage to resources due to human activities, carrying capacity can be used as an indicator or limitation of utilization so that natural resources can recover. Conservation management will regulate utilization in accordance with the limits of a carrying capacity and protect natural resources from intolerable disturbance. Furthermore, the concept of conservation is included in the concept of integrated management. One thing that is fundamental in the implementation of conservation is a strong understanding of conservation, carried out with a philosophical approach to conservation. Conservation thought is equilibrium thought. The balance between life and death, the balance of utilization and carrying capacity will prioritize the existence of continuous resources. The concept of carrying capacity is the maximum limit of habitat degradation and resources reduction that can be tolerated by nature. So, that the carrying capacity can be understood with the approach of a habitat or ecosystem or area and the approach of population. The carrying capacity of the area is defined as the ability of nature to tolerate environmental changes caused by human activities so that ecological processes run in balance. The carrying capacity approach in management considers three aspects, namely ecology, social, and economic. Ecological carrying capacity is the main indicator in determining the utilization capacity. The carrying capacity of the population is the maximum limit of exploitation of fisheries commodities. Population growth is affected by natality and mortality. Utilization of fisheries resources is determined by the type and frequency of activities, demand, and population recovery technology. In management, we must control the demand that is the benchmark for exploitation. Demand adjusted to carrying capacity. Population recovery technologies, including hatchery and aquaculture technology, restocking management can increase carrying capacity. The composition of natural resources by level of the system starts from the smallest part, such as individual, to population, community, ecosystem, biome, until to biosphere. All the components of these resources are related at all levels of the system. So the management approach must consider all the components. The carrying capacity approach based on two things. First is resources, and the second is activity. If you look at this picture in the slide, I have a sample for marine ecotourism activities. Marine ecotourism, especially diving and snorkeling tourism activity, the object is coral reef. So the calculation of their carrying capacity consider the presence of coral reef, not the area of island. In this island, the carrying capacity of coral reef is larger than the carrying capacity the land itself. We just talk about the carrying capacity of area. So we move to the other side of carrying capacity, such as carrying capacity of fishing ground based on fish population. The carrying capacity for capture fisheries, considering fish population and fishing grounds. The high or low carrying capacity of the fishing ground is determined by the distribution of fish population, the abundance of fish, and the growth of the fish population. The urgency of conservation is very important in order to achieve the sustainable fisheries and economic production. The importance of the conservation concept for the integrated management of coastal and marine resources, controlling utilization based on carrying capacity or quota, call it, and is the basis for the consideration for policy making. There are three aspects will affect the management of coastal and marine resources. The first aspect is utilization. Human need natural resources, so we have to know how much resources still available in nature. So we talk about the status, potency, and quota. And also we have to consider how long the resources can be used by human. So we talk about the sustainability. Another aspect is very important to control the utilization is always sustainable. So that we have to protect the resources. We have to rehabilitate the damaged resources. So we have to know the indicator of resources that is still good or bad. Another aspect is management. So we have to manage, we have to make a policy, regulation, yeah, to ensure the resources is sustainable. To ensure is the conservation is run well. Yeah, we need institution, organization, planning. So we have to decide what we have to do, yeah, and we have to control if something wrong with the implementation in the field. All the organs of conservation to ensure the management run well in order to achieve sustainable fisheries and economics production. The role of conservation in fisheries resources management includes four aspects of integrated coastal management. First, you have to determine the utilization capacity. This role talk about the sustainability of resources and environment, carrying capacity of the certain area, space capacity, spatial planning based on natural resources. And the second role is consideration for policy making, consists of regulation, institutional license, observation, and law enforcement. The third role is integrated spatial planning and management basic. This role talk about the overlapping allocation, coordination, integrated, and synergy between or among interests. And the last role is controlling on natural utilization and environment. This role talk about the impact control, monitoring, and evaluation. Conservation management is based on the consideration of management variables such as natural resources or ecosystem, human resources, and infrastructure. Generally, resources become object of utilization so that they become a priority. The human component, including its activities and socioeconomic aspects, is a variable that adjusts to natural resources. And for the infrastructure component is needed after there is already a compatibility between natural resources and human need. This slide only illustrates that the current fishing grounds are mostly exposed to overfishing. Yeah, with the red color. This shows that the conservation concept must be integrated with the management of capture fisheries, so that this red status becomes yellow and even green. So we come to the last slide that talk about the conclusion. The economic sustainability of resources will be determined by the sustainable use of resources and marine, coastal, and small island that only be realized when implementing the conservation concept. Yeah, for discussion, I have several questions. Yeah, actually two questions. Yeah. The first is fisheries resources management in Indonesia or your country, yeah, integrated with conservation aspect. Explain your answer according to conservation indicators and sustainable fisheries. And the second question, choose one of the area that you know well. Yeah. Try to identify the problem of fisheries resources management. Determine the variable problem. Try to analyze whether there are problems related to integrated conservation management. Please discuss with your friend and make conclusion from your discussion. Thank you. Okay, that's all that I can tell. Hopefully it can be understood well. Yeah. See you again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.